Okay, today we are talking about elasticity of supply. All right, when we talked about demand, we talked about elasticity of demand. Now we're talking about elasticity of supply. So, elasticity of supply, you will notice, is very similar to elasticity of demand. Elasticity of supply is how sensitive quantity supply is to a change in price. So, remember when we talked about demand, we said that we're not concerned with what happens to the quantity, because we already know. We already know with the law of demand, the law of supply, what happens to the quantity. For example, with the law of supply, if the price goes up, what happens to your quantity supplied? Price goes up, quantity supplied will. Price goes up, quantity supplied will go up. Why? Why is there a direct relationship? They want more money, right? The price goes up, they're going to be willing to sell more because it gets more money in their pocket, right? So, remember we had the visual of the rubber band, right? And we're stretching the rubber band. That's our elasticity. How much does our rubber band stretch? We already know when the price goes up, quantity supplied is going to go up. When the price goes down, quantity supplied is going to go down. Because why? Why? Why is it directly proportional? The less people want to make it. Remember when we talked about our babysitting graph? Why is it that you were willing to babysit less when I dropped the price down? You want more money, right? You're saying, no, I'm not going to babysit for $2 an hour. That's ridiculous, right? So that's the idea behind the law of supply. But elasticity of supply is looking at how much do your quantity change, okay? If I changed on that graph, I had you going up pretty much by $2 every time, okay? When I changed it from $2 to $4, did your quantity supply change very much? Did you offer more babysitting services for sale a whole lot just because I upped it $2? When it was $2, $4, okay? Think about the opposite end of the spectrum. When I upped it from, say, $14 to $16, did your willingness to babysit change a whole lot? Yes, okay? So your sensitivity to a change in price is what we are talking about, okay? So there were three categories of elasticity. What were those three categories again? Elastic, inelastic, and unelastic. Same thing here, okay? So, elastic. Change in price causes a larger change in quantity supply. You react a lot to a change in price. Okay? This is the idea of that really stretchy rubber band. Okay? Change in price, we're going to react a lot to a change in price. The price changes, all of a sudden the quantity supply changes a whole lot. It's the same thing as when we have elastic demand. All we're substituting out is supply for demand. Okay, that's why I did not make this green and in bold, because we already talked about what elastic means. Okay, we should already know that. So what this looks like is if we have the price go up by 50%, we know quantity supplied is going to go up. How much is it going to go up? More than 50%? Exactly 50%? Or less than 50%? More than 50%. Because, remember, when we have an elastic supply curve, it's going to cause a larger change in quantity supplied. So your quantity supplied is going to be bigger than your price change. Looking at it this way, if we have somebody jacking up the price 50%, we are going to have a heck of a lot more cars offered for sale. Yes, I know that's like a poster of the Cars movie, but I thought it was cute. There's a lot more cars offered for sale. They react a lot more. Okay? Exact opposite for inelastic. So if change in price causes a smaller change in quantity supply. So these are going to be in the case of products where producers don't react a whole lot to a change in price. And it's not that they don't want to. They want to. It's just oftentimes they can't. Okay? The things that affect their willingness to offer something for sale is going to be more about constraints on their production, why their production is slower to operate. So for example, in this case, if we have the price go up by 50%, how much is our quantity supplied going to go up by? 30%? 50%? More than 50%? Less than 50%, because again, okay, we're talking about the change in price causes a smaller change in quantity supplied. So you're going to have your quantity supplied is going to be a lot lower than how much your price changes. So again, we have this guy that's jacking up the price, okay, and we have producers that still want still increase production. They offer more for sale. There's just not as much offered for sale compared to the price increase. Okay, so same idea as with demand. Okay, we're just talking about supply. Much easier for you if you had your heads up. You know, we're talking about really exciting stuff here. All right, what was the last category? Unit. And what was the definition? How did we determine if something was unit?
Equal change.
So a change in price causes an equal change in quantity supplied. So what we have happening is that we have producers reacting exactly proportional to our change in price. So if we have the price increase by 50%, how much is our quantity supplied going to increase by?
50.
Exactly 50%. So just like when we talked about demand, there's nothing that is always unit elastic. There are things that are points on a supply curve where they're unit elastic, but you don't have individual items that are always unit elastic. Nothing always works out that neatly. Okay. There are degrees of elastic and degrees of inelastic, but there's nothing that is always unit elastic. Okay, so again, you'd have your guy that's pumping up the price, and you'd have an exact proportional increase in the amount of products offered for sale. Okay, now, how do we tell? Now, when we did demand elasticity, we talked about two ways to determine elasticity. What were our two ways to determine elasticity? Total revenue test and three questions test. Okay, you will be happy to know with elasticity of supply, there's not a total revenue test. There's not even really a 3 questions test. It's a 1 question test. Okay, so it's even more simple than that. So our 1 question is, how do you determine supply elasticity? Well, you are going to use this 1 question. Can producers react quickly to a change in price? How quickly can they react to a change in price? So I know you're sitting there thinking, I don't know if producers going to react quickly to a change in price. Well, there are some guidelines here. Okay, so think about it this way. If you are talking about something like, for example, my pencil. Okay, how do you imagine that they make a pencil? I mean, we don't have to like look into it a whole lot, but how do you imagine they make a pencil?
They make the eraser and the metal part in the pencil.
Okay, so they have some graphite in here, they have some wood around it, right? They have some metal around it, and they have a little tip for the eraser, right? Do they make these by hand? Is there a whole lot that goes into the production of these? This is a straight machine, right? There's totally a machine that goes and takes a piece of graphite, and then there's a machine that wraps wood around it, adds a little metal, adds a little eraser, right? So it's totally a machine. Probably very few actual physical people that are in the pencil factory. There's probably people that are monitoring the machines that make these, okay? So, silly as it sounds, okay, can you imagine if the price of pencils goes up, okay? Remember, producers like high prices. So the price of pencils goes up, that they are actually going to charge for their pencils. Is it going to be very easy for the pencil producers? This one is made by Universal. Is it very easy for the Universal company to go and make more pencils?
Yeah.
Yes, very easy, okay? So these are going to be items, okay, that are very small, easy to produce items. So if the answer is yes, they can react quickly to a change in price. It's going to be very elastic. They're going to respond a lot to a change in price. These are going to be things that are going to fluctuate a lot as to how much is in the store. The price goes up, oh my gosh, we can go and shove it all out the door and we can get it on the shelves real fast, okay? Pencils, all you'd have to do is go turn the machine on high, run it 24/7. There you go. You got lots more pencils. Okay. Whereas inelastic, okay, inelastic are going to be items that don't react quickly. Producers can't react quickly to a change in price. These are going to be very large, complex items. Okay. So I have my picture of my pencils. Examples of inelastic. Think about this. If we're talking about Navy battleships, okay, big, huge Navy battleships, or aircraft carriers, okay, are those very easy to produce? No. How long does it take them to produce one of those? Yeah, several months. I don't know off the top of my head how many exactly, but it takes several months to be able to produce one of those. Now imagine, if you will, the Department of Defense comes out to these defense contractors and says, okay, we want you to make more of these, we want you to crank them out, okay? We're going to pay double what we were paying before. The defense contractor says, yes, awesome, great. Problem. Can they go and produce them very quickly? Can they just all of a sudden ramp up production and just crank them out like, you know, nobody's business? They have to hire more workers. They got to get more materials. When they go build these things, they start them off in a warehouse, and once they get them so that they can actually float, then they put them in the water and they build the rest of it, right? So these big, huge aircraft carriers and battleships, okay, they're very inelastic. I mean, look at that thing. It's huge, right? It's very complex to be able to put the whole thing together. So as a result, because it takes so long and very complex to do it, yeah, they could react to a change in price. Yeah, they can go and increase the amount that they're making, but it's going to take them some time, okay? Because it takes them so long, okay, it's very supply inelastic. They don't react a whole lot to a change in price just because they can't. They would love to, but they just can't, okay? So does anybody have any questions about supply elasticity and how we determine supply elasticity? Yes?
Can you not determine if it's a unit?
No, because again, nothing is always unit. There's parts on the supply curve where it's unit elastic. Okay, but we're not going to worry about that even. We're just saying elastic and elastic. Any other questions?